What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Storyteller Jet with another episode of the That's So Fire talk show. And today we are going to talk about how a social worker built an Airbnb cash flow and crushing it in the industry. If you ever are interested in about learning about Airbnbs or investing in real estate, this talk show is going to be for you. And I pray that this conversation that we are going to have today is going to impact you in helping you grow, both personally, because you're going to be talking a lot about mindset, and also financially, learning about some of the strategies that you can utilize to grow your business today. Are you ready? Let's go, baby. And also, I'm super excited. This is probably, I think, the very first Haitian that we are going to have in the show. I mean, you were born here and doing all of that, but your parents are from Haiti. But super excited, full circle moment, and as a Haitian starting the show here, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
this episode about to be legendary.
Let's go, baby. It's gonna be fire. Eugene, welcome to the show, man.
Man, glad to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start by doing a quick introduction of who Eugene Fanfan is.
1000%. So my name is Eugene. I'm an entrepreneur, husband, father. But prior to all that, I'm a regular individual who, thought the American dream was going to school, going to college. So I actually did end up going to college here at University of South Florida here in Tampa. And I'm born to parent immigrants. My dad and mom both from Haiti. So I grew up in the inner cities of Miami, Florida. And now we're in Tampa. So Miami raised me, but now Tampa pays me right now.
I love that. Miami raised me, Tampa pays me. Let's go, baby. This is awesome. So one of the very first questions that I typically like to ask people is about their origin story. So how did they get started, and what their entrepreneurial journey looks like? So let's get started there. So what's your origin story?
So my origin story, growing up, my whole main thing was to obtain financial freedom, live the American dream. And to be honest with you, growing up, I never anticipated that I was going to actually become an entrepreneur or become a business owner. I thought I was going to work a regular career, have a job, family, house, whole 9 yards, but it didn't end up that way, right? But growing up in the inner cities of Miami, that's what kind of motivated me to become an entrepreneur, because I didn't come from money, right? Unfortunately, my mom did die when I was 9 years old. So things that I went through in my life, statistically, men my age would be either dead or in jail. Right. So I wanted to beat the odds. So I thought the answer was go to college, get a degree, especially with Haitian parents, say go to school à l'école, become a doctor, lawyer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I ended up becoming a social worker. And I thought I was going to make great income, because when you have the college degree, guess what? Then you made it, right? You're going to have a great job, great career, great income. And it didn't happen that way. Right. I felt like I was overworking, underpaid. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And I thought that I was going to become successful. So that's what kind of led me to become an entrepreneur, because I really wanted to help my dad out and help my family out. And when I realized I couldn't do that with my current 9 to 5, that's what led me to become an entrepreneur. For two reasons. One was because of the income, but secondly, to be able to control my time. So that's what kind of got into entrepreneurship. My very first business was I got into the car business because I like cars. So we did that for 6 years. And then I got to a point in my career where I wanted to have more time freedom. I wanted to have a family in the future. So that led me to actually do online businesses, where I got into financial services. And then also right now what I do, which is short-term rental and Airbnb. But I would say my struggles, what I went through, allowed me to become an entrepreneur. We always hear this saying that turn your pain into profit.
Yeah. I would love to extrapolate, if that's the word, like on that one specifically, how to turn pain into profit. But let's take one step back. You mentioned earlier that your first job was as a social worker. Can you talk a little bit about that specifically? What were you doing as a social worker?
Okay, correct. And I think, I always say this, your current career, because a lot of times, people think that your jobs can't help you on your entrepreneurship journey. And I feel like all my jobs I had, like, I ain't gonna lie to you, like I had about 15 jobs. That's how you know I was Haitian, right? Working hard. I had about 15 jobs in my lifetime. But after graduating college, social work was actually my first job. And that actually helped me in my entrepreneurship journey, because I was actually a caseworker for a mental health hospital facility, where we had to do evaluations on patients to see if they're a good fit for further treatment, to see a psychiatrist. So we did multiple triages. That's what we'll call them. So we'll do multiple interviews to patients, ask them questions, see if they qualify So I was doing that for about a year. It was very stressful because we did a lot of hours. Like some days we'd do 16 hours, right? But still the paycheck was small. But I did have a passion for it because I was helping people. And what I'm doing now as an entrepreneur, I still get to help people as well too. But also I got some skills that help me, which is learning how to ask the right questions and also being a good listener, which I think you need as an entrepreneur for our skills.
That is fantastic. And also, I always love people that actually use their knowledge and skills to be able to help other people. And you've alluded to that a couple of times already. And I have mad respect for all social workers that, obviously some of them are even putting themselves on the line to be able to help other people. And I would venture to say that you as a social worker working with people that may be dealing with some mental health issues might be like a really tough situation.
Yeah.
Did you encounter any big issues while you were working as a social worker in the mental health industry?
Yeah, I would say a lot, in that, because you're dealing with people that dealing with a lot of stress, bipolar disorder, things, schizophrenia. So I had one of the patients wanted to fight me. Crazy. Like I'm trying to help you and he wanted to fight. But it was because he had like a mental, disorder at the time. But yeah, we encounter a lot of different things, and it's, that field is a tough field, but it's needed, especially now, right? People dealing with a lot of stress, things like that, and then going through a lot of, mental issues. And I think that's something that's important right now, where you can have those conversations with either a therapist or, I think even as an entrepreneur, you need to have conversation with friends or colleagues and, things that you're going through where you can actually express. You don't hold all that stuff in. I think sometimes entrepreneurs, we do hold a lot of stuff in because we can relate to other people that may not be the entrepreneurs. So I think we all need to maybe talk to someone or have someone we can speak to about, any issues we're encountering.
Absolutely. What would be your biggest advice to entrepreneurs that might be dealing with a lot of stress and they're trying to hold everything in?
What I would say, man, let it go. like let it go. Speak to people. You know what I'm saying? Talk to people. Let it out. Because a lot of time, man, that stress could kill you. Stress could kill you. And one thing I think about is in the Bible, and I think the Bible lays out everything for us, even as an entrepreneur, but it says don't have anxiety, don't worry, right? A lot of times we worry about a lot of different things. What if it doesn't go right? As an entrepreneur, you already know, man, like you got to have faith because you go through ups and downs. Like without faith, I don't know how I would make it, but even entrepreneurs, it tests your faith. Yeah. It tests your belief. But God lays it out. Don't have anxiety. Don't worry. Don't be anxious about anything. And I think as entrepreneurs, we need to not worry, find someone you could talk to, get an accountability partner, plug into a community where you can relate to, and just be open. A lot of times we hold that stuff in, we stress ourselves out. And I think if we implement those things, we can kind of, be better on our journey.
Absolutely. Do not be anxious about anything and let your request be made known to God.
Correct.
Do not be anxious about anything and let your request be made known to God. That was one of my favorite verses in the Bible around anxiety and, and all of that. One of my new favorite verse right now is fear not, only believe. And that was Jesus talking to somebody that literally just had their daughter die. Wow. And God, Jesus looked at him and told him, hey, fear not, only believe.
Wow.
What kind of faith would you need when your kid already passed away for you to even do that? So that's one of my favorite verse right now.
Wow.
Because as you said, entrepreneurship is really hard. But when you exercise that faith in God, there's nothing that really you can't do. And
correct.
God has a plan and a purpose for all the things that you might be going through.
100%. And you made me think about something in the Bible. I believe it has fear not over 65 times. Fear not. Anytime he told one of the, whether it's someone that was going to be a disciple or anyone that was doing his will, he told him, fear not. Right? Hey, I have a plan for you, but fear not. You may not understand it. So I think, that stands out. And I think that's important to know.
Yeah, I think this is going to be turned into a whole Bible talk show today, which is fine by me. But one of the things that when I went to church on Sunday, the message was around forgiveness, talking about Joseph's journey. At the end, like how he forgave his brothers and all of that. But for me, being an entrepreneur, that was not my whole takeaway from that. My takeaway from that was Joseph went through a lot of down. Like he was sold by his brother. He was thrown in the pit. He became. He went to. They put him to jail and doing all of that. So he had to go through a lot. But the bigger purpose and the bigger thing that God has in store for him was he had to go through all of these moments, all those hard moments for him to become the second in power in Egypt. So sometimes as entrepreneurs, we don't understand all the struggles that we are going through. But at the end of it, God has a bigger purpose and a bigger plan. In hindsight, you would see all of the things, all the struggles that you had to go through. But it's all around faith again. Like,
Correct.
kind of going through all of those and work by faith and not by sight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So
that.
I had to share that because that was actually very new to me because that's one of the things that they talked about in church just this past Sunday.
Love
Cool. So let's go back to you helping, working as a social worker. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned from being a social worker that has helped your business the most today?
What I'll say is it'll be two things. Number one, which is communication, how to communicate, how to ask the right questions. I think that's important as an entrepreneur because you're going to have to interact with people, whether you're in sales, you got to know how to ask the right questions and then also be a good listener, as well. So when we had to do evaluations and triages, we had to ask the patients questions, had to be a good listener and figure out what is the right solution for them. And as an entrepreneur, that's what we do, right? We solve problems as an entrepreneur, as a business. How can we solve consumer problems, right? First, you got to figure out what is their need. How do you figure out their need? You got to ask the right questions. Just like a doctor, you go to the hospital, you go to urgent care, they're going to ask you what is wrong with you? What is the symptoms that you're having? And then the doctor's going to listen. He's going to take notes. All right, well, you have this right here. Here's a prescription. Here's a solution for you. And I think that was one of the biggest takeaways I got from my career, which helped me in my business journey,
Yeah, for sure. So you were working as a social worker. What was that turning point for you that made you decide, okay, I'm doing great in social worker right now, but I want to take it to the next level to start a business?
Man, it was the money. The money. A lot of times people tiptoe around it, be like, yeah, they don't want to say it's the money, right? I wanted to make more money. And I realized me only making like $30,000 a year, bro, that's not enough money to survive. You know what I'm saying? So just imagine prior to me having kids, if I did have kids and a wife, $30,000, we can't survive off that. So that was number one. The second thing was my time. I felt like I was constrained. And a lot of time, jobs control our time. They tell us when to eat, when to go to lunch, when we could have time off, when we could take vacations. And I wanted to be in control of my time. And I was always like that when I was younger. I was very independent. I didn't really like to have like rules, growing up. I was very independent. I got my first job when I was like 13, 14 years old. I bought my first car at 16 with all my own money, paid my own cell phone bill. So I was very independent. So I just hated they control my time. And some days, like I said, we're doing 16-hour days. Right. So I wanted to have my time and the income. And what best way to do that with entrepreneurship? So I started thinking, man, the only way I could have both of those is I have to be my own boss. I have to be an entrepreneur. So that was like the breaking point for me when I realized I was in a rat race and I didn't have my time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Earlier, you mentioned that something around turning pain into profit. What are some of the pain that you've experienced over your lifetime that has shaped your success today?
Man, it's plenty. It's a lot. I don't got enough fingers to be able to count. I mean, I think we all go through certain issues, and it kind of piggyback off of what you mentioned about Joseph's story when you heard it. It was talking about forgiveness, but as an entrepreneur, you looked at it a different lens. And for me, what I think about is, we got to go through certain trials because sometimes God is preparing us and we don't understand it. Jeremiah 29:11 talks about my plan is to prosper you. And sometimes you got to go through a pruning season to prepare you because you may not be ready for it yet. So I would think about all my situations I went through and I wanted more, but I had to go through it. And I would say one of the things that I went through that stood out to me, and I remember to this day, is when my first year of college, I can remember I was at my very lowest point. You know, all college kids are broke, right? When you first go to college. So I'm leaving my home city to go to a different city. And it made me think about this as well, too, because sometimes, you know, we got to get to a land of unfamiliar. A lot of times we want to be comfortable, and you can't be comfortable all the time if you're trying to reach high level success. So I went to a different city. I had no job because I went to a different city, low money. My cell phone got disconnected. My financial aid didn't kick in, right? Because we came in through the summer and my scholarship was not going to kick in until fall time. So I'm just using all my savings I have. I didn't have much of my savings. My dad couldn't really help me at the time. So I just kind of ran dry all my money. My cell phone got disconnected. I didn't have money for food because my financial aid didn't kick in. And I had to ask my dorm roommate, like, yo, can I borrow some money so I could buy me some food to eat? And I felt very, very like, man, bad, you know, just to ask him, you know, for that. And I can remember me thinking that, you know what, in my life, I'll never be this low again where I have to ask another man for money to survive, right? So that motivated me, right? To be like, you know what, I'm gonna put myself in a position where I don't have to do that again. I don't have to feel that again. And that was one of the motivating factors that motivated me to really like become successful. When I realized that when I worked at 9 to 5 after college and I felt like I still wasn't stuck in the same place, I only worked that job for 1 year. I haven't worked a job ever since 2011, ever since, because I got, you know what, that taste of corporate America for me said I'm out. I'm gonna get straight into entrepreneurship. If it works, great. If it doesn't work out. But that was one of the moments that were pain moments for me because I just went through a lot of struggles at that time. The second one I would say is when I lost my brother. You know, I ended up losing my brother a couple of years ago. He passed away. And that was another thing for me. It was like, man, like, I don't know how I would be able to deal with that if I worked a job. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just kind of tough, like for grieving and stuff like that. So I needed time. And, you know, sometimes when you work 9 to 5, you can't get that. They're like, you know what, man, you got to come back to work this date. If you don't, we're going to let you go. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I feel like, you know, being an entrepreneur, you control more of your time. You got more time for your family, things that you want to do. So those two moments.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that process. You had a job and now you needed to, you know, make that jump to start in the entrepreneur world. How was that for you?
Man, it was scary. Very, very scary. Right. You know, me transitioning from the 9 to 5 to become a full-time entrepreneur is very scary. You know, because you're thinking, man, what if it doesn't work out? I'm going to be tight on money. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just scary moment, right? But it was actually a fulfilling moment, but scary at the same time. But what I did was I had some money set aside. I saved up 6 months of saving. I went to my family. Hey, this is what I'm looking to do. Can I get X, Y, and Z amount of money? And I just made that leap and made that jump. But prior to that, I saved up some money, 6 months. Because sometimes you have some people that start today, like, you know, I start my business, I got an LLC, I'm gonna quit my job. You know, like, no, you don't want to do that yet. And one thing I always think about, and I heard this from a mentor and stood out to me, before I quit my job, I was planning everything for like 6 months straight, planning everything. While I'm on break, I'm planning, right? When I'm off of work, I'm planning. And one thing I heard from my mentor is use your 9 to 5 to pay your bills. Your 6 to 10 is to build your empire, to build your freedom. And that's what I was doing. So when I was making that decision to leave, I was already planning for my empire, right? And I had some money set aside. And from there, I gave my 2 weeks. I actually gave a week. I didn't give him 2 week notice. I said, hey, I'm leaving this day. And, you know, I was out, but it was still like a feeling like, man, I'm independent. I don't have to work for nobody. I don't got to report to no one, you know, and it could be good and scary at the same time. And the reason why I say it could be good, you work for yourself. But the bad thing is you work for yourself, right? You have to be your own boss. You have to be disciplined. And a lot of times some individuals, when they become independent, be their own boss, they like, you know what, I could just slack off. I don't have to do anything today. I'll do it tomorrow. And then eventually your business end up failing because you wasn't disciplined. You didn't have no structure. So, you know, I made a lot of mistakes that cost them some money in my first year of business, first 2-3 years of business. But I learned from it. You know, some people, you got to learn from your failures.
Yeah, actually, that would be a really great question to follow up with that. What are some of the biggest business failures that you've encountered, and what did that teach you?
When we was in our first business, the car business, when we was, buying cars, we didn't do a lot of research, checking cars out. We just buy it because we was thinking, okay, this car would do good. We'll sell it on a car lot, whatever the case was. We didn't do enough research, and we just going off of emotions, right? When we made that decision. And a lot of times new entrepreneurs make this mistake where you're going off your emotions, right? You want to go off of logic and you want to go off of what makes sense. Right. So that was one of the mistakes, but that comes to having the knowledge. A lot of times we stop learning after high school and college. As an entrepreneur, you want to be learning every day. One of the things my mentor told me, he said, look, man, the reason why you're not earning money every day is because you stop learning every day. You want to be learning every day. So when we made those mistakes, we learned from the mistake. Cost us money. It was a costly mistake, but we learned from it. And then from there, we went to look to get more information and get a mentor who was successful in a car business to learn from him to better our decisions on buying cars. You know what I'm saying? So I'll say that. And one of the mistakes, because it cost us thousands of dollars because we lost money on those vehicles that we bought wrong because making a decision off our emotions. You don't want to do that. And even just in everyday life, a lot of times you think about a domestic violence situation, something that may happen, people go off their emotions. And guess what? They end up losing their life. They lose their freedom, all of their emotions.
Yeah.
Instead of just really thinking.
Absolutely. You've touched on that multiple times so far in the show is around mentors. Mm-hmm. Why is it so important to have a great mentor in your life?
Man, very important. A lot of times people don't want to have mentors. One, because they think they know everything, or they don't want to pay for a mentor. But it's very important because you can learn from someone that already is where you're trying to go. They've been there already, and it could teach you. And you could turn decades into days, right? And what I mean, you could turn decades into days. Instead of taking years to figure it out, why not find someone that already mastered it, learn from them, and reach the next destination faster, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? So I think that's very important to learn from them as well. And they could coach you and guide you at the end of the day. And, that comes from wisdom, from learning from someone else, come from wisdom. And, and the Bible talks a lot about wisdom, seek counsel. I was listening to something earlier today and it was talking about making decisions. It says, seek counsel, seek counsel. I mean, seek guidance. And a lot of times we make mistakes because we're trying to just make decisions on our own thinking, right? If like you want to go to the next level, like I heard this saying right here is that you are where you are in your life because what you know in your current decisions that you made in the past. In order to go to a different level, you have to learn something you never learned before. And the way that you do that is you learn from some other people, not just anybody, someone that's already proven that's successful, right? And then you can learn from them, and now you could get to the next level faster.
Yeah. Going back to a conversation that we've had the very, very first time that we've met, what was the biggest investment that you've made in a mentor, and what return on investment that you would say that has created for you in your business?
Yeah, man, I invested in one of my mentors, man, and it was scary too. When you dishing out a lot of money, it's scary, and a lot of times, transactions could turn into transformation, right? And I invested over $100K into one of my mentors, and it turned to a transformation, and it allowed me and my wife to be able to do millions in our business, right? From paying that mentor. And one thing I always say is don't look at anything that you're doing for your business is not you spending money, it's an investment, right? And you want to look on the ROI. What is the return on your investment? So us investing over $100K and we're getting back, learning how to make 7 figures, we're literally 10x our investment. Would you say that's a great investment?
That's a fantastic investment.
1,000%. And that's how we got to look at when we're looking for mentors. What's the return on my investment? Not the cost. What's the return on my investment? And a lot of times we look at, well, how much the cost is. But I always tell people this, ask yourself, how much would it cost you if you don't learn that information?
Absolutely.
It'll cost you not just money, it'll cost you your time and your freedom.
It's called opportunity cost. I was referring to the Myron Golden mentorship and stuff like that. Is that what you are talking about too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Myron Golden is the man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for a lot of people, they are dealing with scarcity mindset about investing in mentors. What would you say to those people that want to? What would you say to those people that do not want to spend money to get the right help?
What I'm going to say, I'm be straight up with you guys. If you guys watching this, you're going to spend money anyways, right? You're going to come out the pocket anyways, right? My mentor always says this: it's not a matter of who you're going to pay, is when you're going to pay, because you're going to pay regardless. Either you're going to pay someone to learn, or you're going to pay life. I'm gonna be real with you. I would rather pay someone to learn than pay life, because paying life is very expensive. Not knowing how to get your freedom, not knowing how to make multiple seven figures, not knowing the information will cost you the dream life that you desire and that you want. So I'd rather pay for the information. But one of the things I always say to individuals is that the reason why a lot of us don't want to invest is because what we've been instilled, right? Save money. You can't save your way to wealth. You can't save your way to freedom. And I always say this is that you got to look at, I'm gonna keep referencing the Bible, right? But in the Bible talks about sowing seeds, right? And a lot of times we want the harvest, but how can we get the harvest if we're not willing to sow a seed? And the reason why is because we're so attached to it. But you holding on to that seed, you can't grow it. God said in the Bible, be fruitful and multiply. He wasn't just talking about having kids. Ladies like, I ain't trying to have no more kids. The ladies like, no, I'm good. But he wasn't just referencing kids. He was telling Adam, be fruitful and multiply everything that you have. And the way that you could do that is you got to sow a seed. So the same thing when it comes to paying for information, paying for a mentor, you're sowing a seed to get the information. You're sowing a seed, and now you're going to be able to get the harvest that you desire on the other side.
Absolutely. What was the biggest lesson that you've learned through your car business?
Good or bad lesson?
We can do both.
I will start with good. I would say with good. I mean, in a car business, it was very. It's a lot of it's a difficult industry, but in the car business, what I'll say is that people need a vehicle. Like if you're in a business that people need a vehicle, you're always going to be able to have sales and make money. So we was able to sell cars. It never was a month that we didn't sell vehicles because people always need a car. So one thing that I learned is I learned marketing from there as well, exposure. Back in the day, social media wasn't really popping like that, but we began to learn how to master different sites like Craigslist. So I was posting on Craigslist and we was getting a lot of clientele from there. Exposure. So marketing, I'll say from the car business, learning that you got to market. I don't care what business that you in, people got to know you. Like if you want to make money, people got to know who you are. You can have the amazing product, amazing service, but if no one knows about it, you're the best hidden secret. So you got to market. And I learned that in that business. And when I tapped into other businesses, like I was able to become successful because I understood the key thing is the marketing. So I'll say I learned that. The good side. The bad thing I would say is that it was very expensive. So I always tell people, look for a business that you're looking to get into where you have low costs, and especially like right now, you have online. And if you have a great product and service that you can make online, you could get higher profit margins. Because in a car game, you're spending $5,000 plus on a vehicle to sell to make, $1,000 and $2,000 in profit. That means you got to have at least 10 cars that you're selling to make at least $10,000 in profit. Very expensive to buy those inventories. But in an online world, it's different. So I would say it's one of the things, like it took a lot of capital to run those type of businesses. So I would say that's a bad thing, when it came to the car business.
Yeah. Now transitioning to the car business to what you're doing right now. Did you do any business in between, or was it the transition from the car business to the Airbnb?
Yeah, so we got, we'll be still in it as well too. Financial services where we help people with their credit and things like that. Because I see a lot of people with credit issues. And obviously you in America. America's built on debt. You need credit, house, car, even some government jobs to look at your credit. So we see a lot of people with bad credit buying vehicles. So we help them with their credit. And we was doing that. And when we transitioned out the car business, we just did credit for a time. We began to understand and master it. And then, from there, when I was looking for different investments, what can I invest my money into? That's when we kind of tapped into real estate. And then from there, got into Airbnb.
Yeah. Credit is very important. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, that's one thing that you can use to grow your business, obviously. What is the number one credit advice that you would give to anybody that may not have a good credit right now?
Great question. So Number one, check your credit. You can check it for free with annualcreditreport.com to see what is your 3 credit scores. If it's anything that's negative on the report, if it's anything negative, get them disputed, to clean them up. If you don't have no credit history and trying to build it up, I'm going to give you guys 3 ways on how you can build your credit fast. Number one, get a secure credit card from your bank, where you put money on a card, whether it's $300 to $500, they'll give you a credit card. Now it's going to begin reporting on your report. That will begin to help you establish credit. So get a secure credit card. The second thing that you could do also is called a Navy federal pledge loan, where it's kind of like your own money as well, that you're putting down for like a loan to show on your report, like you're borrowing your own money. And they're going to put that on your report as well, too. So within 30 days, once that reflect, that will give you a score increase between 50 to about 70 points. The other thing as well, if you're renting, you could use rental history. You could go back far as 2 years with some companies. One company you could use is Credit Rent Boost. It's like $10 a month. And let's say you're paying $2,000 a month in rent. They will reflect that on your credit report as positive history, and you can put that on all 3 credit bureaus. Now, once you begin to establish some type of credit, you go to your bank now and be like, hey, I want to go ahead and get an unsecured credit card. Right? One rule of thumb, which is very important, make sure your utilization, you're not going too high. This is where a lot of people mess up at. You want to, if you have $1,000 credit limit, multiply by 30%. That will give you the number not to go over on that credit card. So if it's $1,000 credit limit, don't go over $300. Keep utilization 30% and below, and you'll generate a 700 plus credit score.
That was probably one of the best advice that I've gotten in the show. I interviewed another really great person. I would highly encourage you guys to go and watch Airbnb talk show that was in from the show. He dropped a lot of gem around like building credits and doing all of that. But that was a really good advice that you shared. That was incredible. What is the biggest mistake that you see people make when they're trying to build their credit?
One of the biggest mistakes is the applying everywhere. You try and apply to 5-10 places at once, right? You have a lot of inquiries. And one thing that we say in the credit world is that when you got a lot of inquiries, you look thirsty. You're just like a guy. You go out and you're in the same, let's say you at the mall and you're trying to talk to 5 different girls at the same time. Well, the girl's like, you thirsty, right? Y'all just seen you talking to this person over here. I'm good. Same thing with the banks. If you got a lot of inquiries, they're going to be like, you know what? You may have a 700 credit score, but they're going to deny you because you got a lot of inquiries, right? So we also tell people don't have no more than 1 or 2 inquiries. So make sure your inquiries are low. You also could get them removed, but make sure the inquiries are low, right? And then you're paying your cards on time. 'Cause a lot of times people make the mistake is that they don't pay the credit cards on time or whatever loans that they have on time, and then you get a late payment. You can drop your score anywhere between 25, 50 points just for one late payment that you have. So I always recommend people set up auto pay, and then from there, just keep your inquiries low.
Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. So now let's transition to talk a little bit about your current business now. So you worked in the financial industry first, and then now you were doing Airbnb. What made you make that shift from working in the financial industry to real estate?
100%. So, one thing I thought about, and I think this is important, is that any business you start, you got to begin to think long term. Like if you're doing a business, like whether it's, let's say, a service business, like if you're the business is depending upon you for doing service all the time, then you really don't have a business. Yes, you have an LLC, you make money, but that business is dependent upon that service you provide. So I began to think about, okay, how can I have my money work for me? And one of the best ways is real estate. Real estate's not going nowhere. People always need a place to stay, live, travel. So it's always going to be here. So before I left the car business, I ended up buying a duplex. Me and my wife bought a duplex, multifamily, and we had that for like 4 or 5 years. We collect rent, pay the mortgage. We was walked away with like $300, $400 in profit after we paid the mortgage, which is okay money. It's an asset. I'm not so opposed to buying properties. It's an asset. But I was thinking about how can I have more cash flow? Like if you guys know anything about Grant Cardone, he talks about cash flow. Cash flow is king. So I began to hear about something called Airbnb. I began to learn about it, research it, and you could charge a nightly rate. So you could end up like literally 10x in your profit margin. So one Airbnb could make you $1,000, $3,000 in profit. That made a lot of sense to me where I could increase my cash flow. So that's what allowed me to be able to tap into the Airbnb space at the time in like 21, and we just went all in.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, what for somebody that wants to start an Airbnb business? For somebody that wants to start an Airbnb business, what is the very first thing that they should do to ensure that they're successful with that?
Great question. I like that question. So, one of the things is understand the market. Know what market that you're going to get into and if it's going to be profitable or not. And something that we do is we do market research analysis, and we call these comparables. And, in real estate, like a real estate agent, they use something called the MLS, and they could run comps. Basically, based on the address, it'll let them know what house sold, what's the average price for the particular house based on the address. So same thing we do in Airbnb, based on a particular market, we'll see the average yearly revenue you could earn in a particular house, and then also how the market is performing. So I'll say number one, know the market. How well is it? I'll give you guys 3 sites you guys could go to do market research analysis to see if your city is a good area to do Airbnb or a different city. You could go to matchvisor.com. That's going to be a good one. I'm going to give you guys the top 3. Matchvisor.com, B&B Calc, which is my favorite because it gives you a breakdown on your profit after your monthly expenses. And then the other one's going to be called airdna.co. And that's going to allow you to plug in a particular address in the city market to do market research analysis. Very important, because I see some people make the mistake. They just get into Airbnb. Okay, this person said I could do Airbnb. They get the unit and they can't make no money, right? Because you didn't do no market research.
Yeah. I'm going to follow up with that question. What is the biggest mistake that you see most of your students make when they are thinking about starting an Airbnb?
One of the biggest mistakes is trying to put it on your personal name when it comes to doing it. So what we do is we do rental arbitrage, but we're able to rent the property under our business name. So we get our LLC first and incorporate our business, get our business set up. And then from there, we let the landlord know, hey, we're looking to do Airbnb and short-term rental up front, so they know what we're doing. A lot of mistakes people make is that they don't tell the owner, they get a 12-month lease. A couple months later, the owner finds out, kick them out, and they pay had to pay a lot of money in fees. So I'll tell you, the number one thing you want to do is get your LLC, right? Let whoever know you're reaching out to, hey, I have a short-term rental company. I wanted to know if you allow us to do short-term rental. We will rent it from you for 12 months. And then also we'll manage the property, make sure our cleaners maintain the property. So that way the owner have a peace of mind. When we begin to teach our students this, like they get yes left and right from owners.
I'm really glad that you talked about that because I think this is a good point to make. So is it for people that wants to start in the Airbnb business, do they have to only use houses that they own, or can they rent it from somebody else and rent it?
Great question. Yeah. So yeah, you can rent it from other people. You can rent it from a landlord to do it. That's what we do now. We've been able to build a 7-figure business doing that, where we rent all of the properties to do Airbnb. And that method is called rental arbitrage, where you rent a property from the owner with permission to actually sublease it and sublet it out. And now you have permission to actually do Airbnb with that particular property.
Yep. So what are some of the steps if you wanted to rent a house and turn it into an Airbnb? What are some of the steps that you should take to ensure that you have success with the landlord?
Great question. So, one, market research analysis, get your LLC. And this industry been around for a long time. It's been around for decades. The industry itself is called short-term rental or mid-term rental, which will I'll give you guys some game on that, what mid-term rentals are. So basically, one, you get your LLC, you do market research analysis, and then you begin to reach out to owners. I'm gonna give you guys one free way that you could do that. Anyone could do this, Zillow.com. It's a free platform. And you could search rentals that's on there in your area or different cities and outreach to the owners and let them know, do they allow short-term rental? If they do, great. If they don't, go on to the next person. You're going to get some no's. And I always say this, no's that you get is going to build your confidence. You're going to get that no. But eventually, you'll get a yes. And the yes you get builds your bank account because now you can make money once you get that yes. But you're going to reach out to landlords. So out of every 10 people, you may get 1 or 2 yeses, right? Once you do that, now you begin to do something, make an agreement called a corporate lease, where you get a lease under your business name, but it's a residential lease for 12-month lease. You guys agree on whatever rental price, that whether it's $2,000, $3,000, whatever they want for the rent, you guys make terms with that. Other thing you want to do is check the city and regulations to see what the requirements are to do short-term rental. Certain cities require you to get a business tax license. Certain cities don't allow it, but a lot of cities are allowing it. You just got to get a business tax license. and then pay occupancy taxes and things like that. So just kind of figure out what the requirements are. And that's pretty much it. From there, you furnish it, get a photograph, you list on Airbnb. What I like about it is Airbnb does all the marketing for you on their platform. You get people that stay in your property and you get paid out.
I love it. What is the biggest misconception that the average people typically have around Airbnb?
That it's illegal. That's the biggest one right there. People are like, oh, Airbnb, it's illegal, right? And Airbnb is a marketing platform. You know, just like you got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, that's social media. So Airbnb is a marketing platform for short-term rental. The industry itself is called short-term rental, and it's been around for decades, right? So that's one of the biggest misconceptions that, oh, you can't do Airbnb. You can. So it's a billion-dollar industry. And then also the other thing is another strategy, which I'm going to touch on, which is midterm rentals, where people can stay in your property for 3 months at a time, 2 months at a time. And, you know, one of the things that I see a lot of people miss out on is, you know, treating this as a real business. You treat this as a real business, you get paid like a real business. So even working with like insurance companies, because think about if someone's house, let's say we live in Florida, hurricanes, someone's house got flooded, they got damages, they need it repaired. The insurance company, like, hey, we'll repair it, but you guys need a place to stay. The insurance company will cover the cost for you to stay in another house, you and your family. So let's say you want $5,000 a month for your rental, your short-term rental, your Airbnb. You could get a check for $10,000 if they need to stay there for 2 months from the insurance company. So you can even work with insurance companies, travel professionals, and things like that. So a lot of people just kind of focus on, oh, this is illegal, is a vacation rental, but this is a real business.
Yeah. What are some of the things that people should do to ensure that they're successful with starting an Airbnb business?
Number one, get a lot of information. Information is key, right? Because, you know, the more you learn, the more you earn. But when you become more knowledgeable, you'll make a decision, not like an educated guess, if this Airbnb will make me money or not. So number one, do a lot of market research analysis, get some advice, understand the market, and then kind of see what's going on, what's needed, and how to maximize doing the business, right? Before you just dive into it. Because we have some people, some of our students who, before they got encountered with us, they'll just start Airbnb and not become successful because they treat it like a side business. Like some of our students was taking pictures with their cell phone and then put it on the listing. Like, no, you got to get professional pictures, get a real estate photographer, have them take professional photos. And that way it looks good on the Airbnb listing platform. And also pricing optimization, leverage AI tools right now. So there's a couple of AI tools that we use. One of them is called Price Labs. It would determine the pricing. So for example, you got the World Cup that's going on right now, that's going to be going on this year. They're also going to be going to Dallas. So what we did is we linked up the AI dynamic pricing tool with our mentee Airbnb listing. For some of those days for the World Cup, he's going to be able to charge $1,000 a night, right? So if someone stays with him for 5 nights, that's $5,000 a night, all because the system already detected that it's going to be a World Cup going on around that time, June, July, and that was going to be able to raise the prices. So it does it kind of thing about a hotel, but most people that are amateurs, they always like get started on Airbnb, not get that dynamic pricing tool, the link to the Airbnb, to make sure they maximize their earnings and profits.
Yeah, that's really great. For somebody that, like for me, I've never invested in Airbnb yet. If I wanted to start today, what are some of the things that I can do to get started and be successful in the business?
Yeah, if you want to start today, I'll say now is actually one of the best times to actually start. So number one, get your LLC, market research analysis, and figure out the top producing markets. So look at the top 5 markets. Florida, obviously we live in Florida, top 5 markets. Cities in Florida, you got Tampa, you got Miami, you got Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, you got Texas, right? You got California, you got Arizona, and you got Nashville, Tennessee. So you want to look at the top 5 producing markets. And then for our states, and look at the top producing cities. And then from there, begin to do market research analysis. So that way, you know what, I'm looking at a market, I know it's going to make money. We live in Florida. So for me, it's like, hey, Florida's going to be number one. So yeah, now is the best time. We have something called peak season. Every business have this, right? You got your highs and your lows in your mid-season. So all big corporations like Walmart, big corporations and stores know where their peak season are. Like Target, around the holidays, they're gonna make a lot of money. You got Black Friday, you got Christmas. So they make a lot of money during those times. So same thing with Airbnb. We got peak season from November going in all the way to summertime. Here in Florida, we do make great income, right? Because November, Thanksgiving, December, Christmas, January, you got spring break, New Year, people are still traveling, and people will pay a premium price. So I would say now is the best time to actually start looking to get started when it comes to Airbnb. But not even just that, Airbnb is valued at $80 billion, right? When people say, man, Airbnb is illegal, X, Y, and Z, like Airbnb is not going nowhere, right? Number one, you got to understand, if it's a big corporation, who makes money on the back end? The government. Uncle Sam, like, hold on, you making all that money? You need to get some of that. Stay in business, because obviously it's a business, right? Taxes and things like that. But what Airbnb is doing, as far as the marketing platform, I'll tell people Airbnb themselves is not in the hospitality business. They're an experience business. And they're doing something that no other platform is doing. And you want to get in. Me and my wife met with one of the reps at corporate last week. And they were just sharing things with us that we didn't know about. They have a luxury version, a luxe version of Airbnb.
Wow.
Right? Like high level Airbnbs, right? So, and people are paying $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 a night sometimes to stay on there. So, you know, it's like, I kind of look at it like this, kind of think about it. People was able to invest into like Bitcoin when it first was popping, right? When it first came out, people made a lot of money. We're still in that phase right now with Airbnb. You get into the right market, the right area, you'll begin at the right time, because we're still early in it. I mean, they've been around for a long time, but we're still early where Airbnb didn't even scratch the surface yet and where they're about to go.
Yeah. You just dropped like 5 to 10 different cities that you believe are the hot markets for Airbnb. What advice would you give to somebody that, let's say they're living in Florida, but wants to invest in Georgia or Nashville? What advice would you give them as they want to grow their business outside of the states that they're in?
Yeah. One thing I learned from one of my mentors is start local and then grow global. Right? Start in your local market first. If your local market is good, start there first. That way you can see the problems, get the hang of it, and therefrom go global. So that would be my advice. Don't just go in a different city and market first, you know, because you hear all this stuff about it. It can be more difficult, especially for new individuals. Like right now, a lot of people are talking about international Airbnbs. Not saying you can make money, but we tapped into it. You know, we got into some units in Tulum, Mexico. And it's a very tough market because the way they have certain things is very different than the States. Like you got to get water trucks to fill up the well for water. There's a lot more maintenance and requirement for managing it. But a lot of people talk about, international, but it's a lot. I'm like, man, it doesn't make sense. Why not just invest in where we are in the U.S.? People travel here all the time and make it a little bit easier and still make great income. So I would say, if you're thinking about going outside your market, see if your market is a good area first. If it is, start there, then go global. You know, because you'll have to travel and things like that when you're trying to set up your first Airbnb outside of your state.
Yeah. What are some of the things, if you do go global, what are some of the things that you can do to ensure, because you're not there physically, what are some of the things that you can do to ensure that you are successful in those outside markets? Oh,
number one is with technology. Like this keyword right here is going to be leverage. My mentor told me this. I'm gonna give you all the game here. I'm not gonna leave anything behind. I'm gonna leave it all here on the table right here. Leverage is gonna be the key word. Leverage everything. My mentor said this: if you're not leveraging something, somebody is leveraging you. 9 times out of 10, your job is leveraging you. So you gotta know how to leverage other things. So with technology, leverage it. Right? You got a smartphone, that's $1,000 phone. That phone should make you money. So let's say you got an Airbnb looking to set up out of state. You got technology. You got Ring cameras that you can set up. You got smart locks. So some of the units that we have that's outside of state, we have Ring cameras, so we can see when the guests are checking in and what's going on with the property from the palm of our phone, literally from our phone. We could be outside the country. Me and my wife last year, we went on a 7-day cruise, and we could see everything that's going on with our properties literally from our cell phone. Literally, right? And then the smart lock, so the guests could check themselves in. So if a guest is trying to check into the Airbnb at midnight and you sleep, they already have the code to check themselves in. Right? So leverage technology, it makes it easier. And one thing we always tell people, have the right system. Have a check-in system. You have your technology system. You could get your handyman, your cleaning team and all that, but have the right system. right? Systems stand for save yourself time, energy, and money. The name of the game is leverage. Like, don't be that person that's trying to do everything. Learn how to delegate and learn how to leverage systems. If you guys know how to master those two things, you'll make great income and you'll have more time for yourself.
Yeah. So obviously, investing in anything is not always fun or like roses.
Yeah, yeah.
Investing is not always roses.
Correct.
What are some of the things that people might experience as it relates to failures if they don't set everything properly? What are some of the things that they should be aware of that could potentially be potential pitfalls for them as they start their Airbnbs?
Great question. So I see a lot of individuals make the mistake right here, where literally they literally would not set up for rainy days, right? And you want to think as an individual, you want to save up for rainy day, have savings. So you may have peak season, you make a lot of money, and then you blow all that money, and now you have a rainy month, you have a slow month. Now you're trying to figure out how I'm going to pay bills, how I'm going to pay the rent and things like that. So I always tell people have reserve. So we like to do what we tell people is leverage credit, leverage business credit. So that way you can set up some money for reserve. You're not using all your cash. So I see some people use all their cash, and when they got a slow month, now they can't pay the rent. Now they're stuck. So I'll say that's going to be one of the biggest mistakes and one of the things that you want to set up beforehand. So that way, in the investing world, especially when it comes to real estate, it's a term that's called holding cost, right? When you first setting it up, right? You got holding costs. Maybe it's not ready to launch yet. And you got to pay the rent until it's ready to launch. When you got reserve, so we always like to set up our students to have at least 50K and above in business funding. So that way you'll be able to have money for reserve. You got enough to get your unit. So you're not using all your cash to even start the business. So that way you can sleep good at night. So I will say that's going to be number one that you need to do. Have reserve. Have reserve.
I love it. If you wanted to grow your Airbnb business from 1 to 10 units, what would you do?
Reinvest. Reinvest the money. I would say rinse and repeat. One thing that I learned years ago, years ago, we did like network marketing, right? And one thing they talked about was duplication. And I think that we still need to use that anywhere we go. In your business, duplicate yourself. So I would say duplication. So you have a unit that works and make great money, duplicate that process. What did you do to find a property? If it was profitable, what did you do to find it? Now find another one and put money back into the business. So one of the things that I did when I first started my business, like we end up scaling really fast because I put into my mind that I want to grow it, right? So our first set of units, we got 3 units. When I found my first location, it was actually apartment/condos. And I asked them, how many units can I said, how many units can I get? The leasing agent said, how many units you want? I said, don't get me excited with a good day. I said, well, man, I want as much as I could get. He said, well, you could get 3. So what I did, I staggered it. The first month we moved in on the other one. I said, set the move-in date for example, February for the second one. For the third one, set it up for March. So what I did was when I made money for January, I took that money, put it in a savings, put it in a business checking account, rolled it into the second unit. Made money with the second unit, rolled it into the third one, right? Rinse and repeat. So put money back into the business. And you guys want to do that. Any business you have, that first money you make is not your money yet, right? Put some money back into the business. You got money for taxes and things like that. And then from there, that's how you grow. So what I would say is, number one, set the intentions. I tell people this minimum, if you want to be at least 10K, 8 to 10,000 earning a month, set yourself up to get at least 4 units to do that.
Boom. What role does mindset plays in growing a business?
Man, I would say that's the number one thing. Without mindset, you ain't gonna have nothing, right? I see that happen all the time. Even with me, man, you're gonna go through some tough times, right? As an entrepreneur, it's like a roller coaster, go up and down, and you got to figure out how can I handle it. And one of the best things is you got to have a tough mindset. You got to be a believer. To me, I think you have to be a believer. Number one, man, because you're gonna go through some things. I don't know what it's going to be, but how would you handle it? And that's why I think the mindset kick in that. And that's why I think always, for me, personal development is one of my favorite things to do. Before I start my day, before I touch my phone, I'm getting myself right first. I'm talking to God first. I'm in the Word. I'm reading. So I get myself right before I start the day. So I'll say that's number one. Like if you're an entrepreneur, personal development and mindset is not a want. It's a necessity. Like if you're looking to, build something long term, you gotta have the right mindset. So I would say this: focus on yourself first before you focus so much on the money, right? Because when you go through something in your business or in your personal life, how will you handle it? Because I don't know what's going to be. You may go through personal death, family, your business. You may have some issues with your business, but the mindset. And you as a leader, because if you're a business owner, you are a leader. You as a leader, number one, it starts with leadership. Got to have the right mindset to be able to handle it, right? Got to know how to make the right decisions. So I would say mindset is number one thing. That's where the money is at, is the mindset. That's what it's at. Before the money even hit your bank account, it starts with you. It starts with you.
Mic drop, baby. Let's go. Man, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show, and you've dropped so many great gem over here. I have 5 questions that I always ask anybody that comes on the show. So
Okay.
we are at that stage right now where I'm going to ask you those questions.
All right.
It might be 3, it might be 5, but we'll start with that. So the very first question that I have for you, if you had to go back to day one when you were starting your business, what is the biggest advice that you would give into your younger self?
I would say these things right here. Don't make decisions off the emotions, right? Don't make decisions off emotions. Go off of logic, and then do a lot more research. Like get a mentor right away. Like, because once we got a mentor in our very first business, we took off.
Boom. What is the $1 million advice that you would give to anybody? What is the biggest thing that has made the biggest impact on you and your business?
I would say this right here would change everything for you. I would say your environment, right? You got to get in the right rooms. A lot of times, we hold our own self back because we're hanging around the wrong people. Once you plug yourself in the right environment, everything will change because you get to learn from other people. Never be the smartest person in your circle. Be the dumbest person, right? Get in rooms where people are doing better than you so that way you can learn from them and they can push you. Because when we begin to get in different rooms that made us uncomfortable, man, everything changed. So what I would say is get comfortable being uncomfortable, being in different rooms.
Absolutely. If you had to go back to day one, what is one thing that you would have changed that you think would have made the biggest difference in your business?
What I would say, not let fear hold me back. I'll say, man, go all in. I think we all have those fears and doubts. Go all in. You said this earlier, fear not. So I'll say if I would have went all in anything I was doing and not worried about it, what if it didn't work or worried about what other people may say, I think we really took things to a whole nother level. So go all in. I would have went all in.
Yeah. What is one book, resource, or a person that has made the biggest impact on you and why?
I would say this book right here, man, is a game changer. The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Because I got to a level in my car business where I thought I was really doing something. And this as an entrepreneur. And it wasn't until I went to a networking event. I got outside my comfort zone. I went to a business event in Georgia, caught a flight, went and didn't know nobody. And I entered, when I was in the networking section, this one lady told me, hey, do you know Grant Cardone? I'm like, nah, that was like 2016. And then she's like, well, here's a free audiobook. Listen to it. I listened to the 10X Rule. It turned me up. He was talking about 10X everything because I was doing everything average level. But he was like, do everything above average. When I did that, man, it took my business to a whole nother level. I mean, 2016 in the car business, we was only doing 100K a year, 100K plus a year. That following year, after listening to that book, and we began to 10X everything, not just business, but our personal relationship, our marriage, our family time, all that, our health. Man, we went to doing like 7 figures in revenue the following year. So 10X Rule by Grant Cardone.
I love that. You touched on that a little bit. You're a family man. You married. How do you balance personal life with business?
Man, you have no balance. Zero. You're never going to have balance, man. But you have seasons. Just like you got fall, winter, spring, winter, summer. You got seasons. And I would say conversations. It's never going to really be balanced, And a lot of times I think that as a new entrepreneurs, they look for balance and they drive themselves crazy. You're not going to have balance. Try to, give every area 100%. It's not going to be perfect. And don't beat yourself up. But understand, like, if you're really trying to go to the next level, never look for balance. Go all in. You're going to have some late nights, some early mornings. You may have some missed events. Your family may not understand at the time, but not going to be no balance. But what I would say, just have conversations. Let everyone know what's going on, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve. So that way they understand why you're missing. Like, man, I don't see you no more. You know what I'm saying? I don't see you at the people like I don't see you at the club or I don't see you at the bank. But it's never going to be balanced, I would say, man. It's not easy, having kids, having a wife, but just be present as much as possible as you can to be there.
Absolutely. Such a great conversation with you today. Now let's talk a little bit about legacy. What is the next 5 year looks like for you?
Man, great. I like that question because my movement is called Team Legacy. That's what we call our group and our movement, Team Legacy. So for me, man, right now, my mindset is just really what can I set into place that I could pass down to my kids and make sure that they're set up, So when it comes to different investments, making sure we're setting up other passive income streams as well too. So that way we could pass things down, and then not even just pass things down monetarily, but pass down wisdom. So for me, I'm looking to learn as much as possible. So that way I could pass down wisdom and information to my kids, whether it's principle and morals that I could pass down, that they could pass down to generations as well too. But the other thing is, number one is making sure I'm leading by example with how I am, and then also passing down legacy. Number one, making sure they know about God, number one, and then passing down his principle and morals, and then setting them up for success.
Yeah. Since you really love that word legacy, what do you hope your legacy be when all of it is said and done?
Great question. So what I would say is, what is I'm going to be known for? What is I'm going to be known for? At the end of the day, money comes and goes. I would say never get attached. We need money. Don't get attached to it. But what is it going to be known for? So my thing is, how many lives can I impact? I want to impact 100,000 lives because, that's what people remember you by. The legacy. What did you leave behind? So for me, it's really about making an impact. How many lives can I change? Who can I bless? And I want to leave this mark, like on earth, like want to leave a mark.
Absolutely love it. There's one thing I always ask people when they come to the show and, showing all the beautiful tats that they have.
Yeah.
What's some of the stories behind some of the things that you...
So I have a lot. So I have my mom name. Obviously, my mom passed away, so I have her name. I have some scriptures, Psalms 23:4, as I walk through the valley of shadow of death. And, a lot of them are scriptures. A lot of them have meaning. Except one of them. I want to get off this one. It said guardian angel, but it's a crazy tattoo, but I want to get this off one day. But this one here, this one I got baptized, 2012. And this is when I took that leap of faith to go full time as an entrepreneur in my car business. And you got to have faith, man. So I'm if you guys are watching this, you think about becoming an entrepreneur or you're a current entrepreneur, you got to have faith. So this says faith. And this is Psalms 27:1. So basically not having no fear. Just like you mentioned, not having no fear and having faith. So this, when I went full time as an entrepreneur, this was my last not last one. I got another. My wife may get another one of an anniversary date, but this was my last one I got that I really wanted to get. But this was embarked me to if I have any doubts and moments and struggles and fear, I went through a lot of trying times in my very first business. I look at the scripture. Now, no lie, and it'll get me through the day. You know what? I'm gonna have faith. I'm not gonna have no fear because guess what? God's gonna make a way.
Absolutely. With me spending, more times in the Bible, I feel like that's a recurring thing. Faith, 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 faith. Faith is everything. And the Bible says too, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move big mountains. Mm-hmm. All the big hurdles or the big things that you may be on your way, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move big things. So I'm glad that you shared a lot of that on the show, and that is something that I've seen that is recurring in the Bible through all of the stories. Like when you think about Joseph, you think about Moses, you think about all of those people that did incredible things in the Bible. One of the commonalities are they had faith. So if you want to start your business and you want to do that, piggyback to what you just said, you have to have faith. So last question that I have for you, for the people that is watching this that may be interested in learning more about your business and about you in general, how can they get a hold of you?
So if you guys want more information, more free game, you guys could follow me on Instagram, Miss Eugene Fan. On IG, Facebook, Eugene Fan, and then also our team, me and my team, we do free classes. You guys could tap in at bnbsummitlive.com if you guys want more free information about how to get started in Airbnb. So
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. You do webinars all the time. When is your next webinar and how can people tune in?
1000%. So we do on weekly. So every Thursday, we do weekly webinars so you guys could tap in. And then once a month, we do like 3-day virtual events, free events you guys could tap into. So
yeah. When is the next challenge?
We're doing at the ending of the month. So February 24th to the 26th.
Cool.
So every month we do a 3-day virtual event. Yeah.
Boom. There you have it. Well, Eugene, such a pleasure having you on the show.
1000%.
You dropped the knowledge. You shared some really, 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 really good stuff here. Super excited. And as I begin this show, I said I pray that some of you guys listening to this will take away some really great nuggets that could potentially transform your life. And I hope that Eugene was that vessel today to really, share his knowledge and wisdom with you guys. And thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys stay blessed by the best. Let's
1000%.
go, baby.
1000%.
That's so fire. Make sure you follow this guy on social media. Let's go, baby.